and Streetcars in the 30s. And I just went through the collection and found a bunch of neat photos from the 1930s. So this is kind of like the one we did for the 20s. So we start with a couple of street scenes. This is Hennepin Avenue. You're looking at the old original Minneapolis library at 10th and Hennepin. And then beyond 10th, this was the automobile district. And then just behind the streetcar is the headquarters of Twin City Rapid Transit at 11th and Hennepin. And here you can see there's a safety zone sign out in the street. And a person kind of blurred because the shutter speed was slow. This is the underpass of the Great Northern on East Hennepin. This is on the Northwest Terminal line. And this is the outer part of the Northwest Terminal line in the middle of Stinson Boulevard. And it was built purely, well, there's some other industry around here, but it was primarily built to serve this one big building here, which was kind of an industrial warehouse park. Building is still there, and they ran right down the middle of the boulevard. Here's a street scene in downtown Robbinsdale on Broadway. And this was the case where they never double tracked it. So they only have one track in the northbound lane, which meant that the streetcars had to run against traffic when they went southbound. Probably not a good idea. This is the corner of 7th and Arcade on the east side of St. Paul. And this is 7th Street. And then the streetcars turned on Arcade, and you can see the street. As a matter of fact, I can see a streetcar way off in the distance there. This was the line that went out to Phelan Park. There's a little Bobby signal right here in the middle of the street. These are the ones where apparently you could hit them and they would come springing back. They were on some kind of a flexible base. That it took a pretty good hit to actually break them.
Did they say Bozo on the side?
What's interesting here is that we have a Standard Oil Company gas station. This is another one on this corner with the Pierce sign. Okay. I was thinking that this was two signs on the same gas station. We have both Schmitz and Hams on the billboards.
But you're not far from the Hams Brewery, are you?
No, yeah, you're about half a mile from the Hams Brewery, off to the left. And you're only a couple of miles from the Schmidt Brewery. This is the Trolley Cafe across 7th Street from the Duluth Avenue station. And if you look in the window, you can see the reflection of the streetcars with the trolley poles sticking up.
It's a wonderful photo.
Isn't that great? So then in the 1930s, University Avenue used to bridge over the Minnesota Transfer, just east of Cleveland Avenue. And they went and replaced the bridge with the underpass that's still there. This bridge is still there. The photographer is standing on a second bridge, which is no longer there. And so to celebrate it, they brought out the William Crooks and the cars. These are all up at the Lake Superior Railroad Museum now. This building here is the offices of the Minnesota Transfer Railway. You're in Aurora Street, or Aurora Avenue, I don't know which, looking at a streetcar on Wabasha, the segment of Wabasha that isn't there anymore, next to the Capitol. This back then was the Minnesota Historical Society. Now it's the Supreme Court building, and of course the state office building here. Here we are at 8th and Nicollet. This is Dayton's. You can see the Dayton Company. Another Bobby signal in the street. And of course, there were buses on Nicollet, but there were never any streetcars on Nicollet Avenue within downtown. You're looking up towards Hennepin where the street angles. This is 5th Street, and this is where I-394 passes under today. And then you look ahead and the streetcars are crossing the bridge over the railroad tracks. Actually, no, I take that back. This is where Target Field is today. The freeway would be directly behind us. This Booth's cold storage building is still there, and the Ford building behind it is still there. This is Minnehaha Park, and we have visiting Swedish royalty. I don't know if it's the king, the queen, princes, whatever. And this is them, I believe. And there is a floral Swedish flag in blue and yellow here, and presumably a lot of Swedish Americans in attendance. And so here you have the streetcars waiting on the Minnehaha Park spur to take everyone back. And it wouldn't surprise me if this is Svenskarnestad. We have some pictures from, I want to say, 1937. Bob Malenbeck, the legendary Chicago trolley fan, who was a friend of my dad's. I met him a number of times. He's long gone now. But he and Bill Jansen were two guys who were out starting in the early 30s taking pictures. And they came to town, and we have several of his pictures here. So this is the corner of 7th and Wabasha. The Orpheum building is all still there. This is now a little pedestrian street. And so the streetcars on 7th, see Minnehaha Hazel Park. By the way, this is the car that came all the way from downtown Minneapolis via Fort Snelling and up 7th Street, that long intercity line that it quit. They broke it up into two, just shortly after this photo was taken. Here he's up on Selby Avenue at Western Avenue. This is the Angus Hotel right here that's still there. There's a good car stop sign on the pole. And some of these other buildings might also still be there. I'm not sure. See, they got gate cars. And this is pretty rare. This is the corner of Rice and Como. The Rice Street, the Rice Street line went straight ahead. Turning onto Como were three lines: the Hamlin Cherokee, the Como Harriet, and then the really obscure one, Western Avenue. In this case, Western Jackson, which only ran about another mile west here to, actually a half mile west to Western, and then up Western a short distance. And this one stopped being a through line beginning in about shortly thereafter. This might be one of the rush hour cars that continued running through to downtown St. Paul. Here we are in downtown, the Fauché Tower on Marquette Avenue. And at the lower level of the Selby Tunnel, showing the tank trap to try to keep automobiles out of there. Seven Corners. And you're looking up you're looking up 4th Street here. Crossing is 7th Street. So this right here would be a Selby Lake car that came out of the tunnel and is going to go down 4th Street. St. Paul Public Library is back here. And then there was a turn loop that went around the block for cars that were terminating on the west edge of downtown and going back the other way, like the Stillwater cars. This is Seven Corners viewed from the east. And so this is for Kellogg Boulevard going into 4th Street, and then 7th Street, which makes a kink and goes out. And then here's that same turn loop turning the corner. Downtown Stillwater, shortly before abandonment in 1932. You're on Chestnut Street. There's the Interstate Bridge. And a view out the back on the way, bucketing through the countryside at 50 miles an hour west of Stillwater. And a streetcar ad. Minnesota was playing Purdue at Memorial Stadium on the campus. And here you can see they were going to run direct service on all these lines right to the stadium rather than making everybody transfer, because it would take dozens of streetcars, to haul everybody there. So why run them all downtown and transfer? You can run them direct. They've even got the scheduled times for when your cars are going to be there. I showed this one to you before. This is a streetcar that was designed but never built. And the idea was to have a small, lightweight streetcar for the lightly traveled lines. Instead, they wound up at the end of the decade abandoning those lines. Now, this crowd is at the Minneapolis Great Northern Depot. This is a streetcar on Hennepin. You're looking out across Nicollet Island. And the reason these folks are here is 1934, and they are here to see the latest in streamlined trains, the Union Pacific M1000. And this is what they were here to see. And this thing, hundreds of thousands of people came out to see this and to see the Pioneer Zephyr because they were such a leap forward. So here we are on Nicollet Island. This is right on the island, and this is the bridge to the mainland across the backwater here. Here's Island Cycle Supply. I don't know if they're still around anymore elsewhere. Grain Belt Beer. Here's the Ford plant. Newly, well, it opened in 1924, but this is it in the 1930s. Actually, the later 30s by the shape of the cars. And of course, you have the turn loop with 2 tracks on it, where the Randolph car from St. Paul met the East 25th Street car from Minneapolis. We're downtown on Hennepin at 8th Street. Here's the State Theater. These buildings are still there. And this is 4th Street Southeast. I'm not quite sure how far out it is. It's probably around like 6th Avenue, and you're looking north. But what I like about this is how it shows how the elms were. There were all kinds of streets like this all across the Twin Cities where you had these kind of cathedral-like elms over all of them before Dutch elm disease came.
The street I grew up on had an elm canopy like that for years.
Yeah. And down in the mud, this is down in the low area south of the Robert Street Bridge, the area that tended to flood. And I'm guessing that there had been like a river flood and it brought all the mud in here. Here we are, the State Fair. The streetcars in the storage yard. This is a car on the St. Paul loop that has just left everyone off. And this is negligence on the part of the motorman by Minnehaha Park. I always like this picture. This is Washington Avenue South at 10th Avenue South. And here's the Washington Avenue Viaduct, and then the wall of the West Bank Milling District. And this just kind of empathize. This makes me think of the 30s. Now I got a couple of pictures here. In the last issue, I had an article on how many streetcars were there in the system, and I talked about the wood cars not surviving the 30s. But they had 5 of these wood frame cars. You can see the truss rods and the tie rods that were double-ended. They had been equipped for shuttles whenever they happened to need them. And they really didn't, they retired them in the 30s, but because they thought they might need a double-ended car, they kept them. And they kind of deteriorated in the Lake Street yard. And so this is one of them. Here's another one. This was actually taken by a Farm Services Administration federal photographer. And I like the fact that it's got an Excelsior excursion sign up, although I bet this car never ran in that service. The other thing was they took them out of service, but they stored the high speeds at a couple of different lines. So you can see, it's got the indicator lights and the pilot and all that. And they wound up scrapping them at the end, but they had sat outside for 7, 8 years or so, and were looking pretty ratty. So this is during the scrapping. You can see they pulled the windows out of them and all, and they're getting ready to burn them. And here they are burning them. So this is like 1938 when they were burning them. Except for 4 of them that they put smaller motors in, and they ran them on the inter-campus line from 1937 or 38 until 1941. And they scrapped them just before the war. I'm sure they wish they had them back. But it's still got its Baker heater, and it's still got its pilot and indicator lights, but it's running on the inter-campus.
Did they change the color of the indicator lights by pulling out that filter?
There were lenses here that slide in and out. And this is a charter. It's over by Seven Corners in St. Paul.
It's the charter from hell.
Yeah, yeah. Here we are on Hennepin by the Basilica, turning the corner. And an overview of the yards at Snelling.
Aaron, can you go back to the picture around the curve? Is it? I doubt that it's an illusion, but there might be some other reason for it. But is the track super elevated there?
Well, it looks like it,
How
but I'm
come?
not sure. I don't know if that's the camera playing a trick on us or not.
Well,
It
it
looks,
is playing.
well, actually, when you look at the car relative to the building behind it, it certainly does seem to be, doesn't it?
It is. It's canted for sure.
Yeah. Maybe they got the
Yeah,
whole
no
street that
doubt.
way. Maybe they have the whole street that way for drainage or something. I don't know.
Well, yeah, but the truck or whatever it is to our left, its right, is certainly flat.
he's-
It's not going the other way.
He's
Yeah.
more up on the crown, though. If he's kind of up in the middle of that street,
Yeah.
which would be
Right,
level.
yeah, that looks like a crown there.
Uh huh.
Interesting.
And look at on the photo from that truck sloping off to the left. Definitely looks like it slants down.
Yeah.
Doesn't look
Okay.
much different today, does it?
Well, I mean, the buildings on the right are all still there.
Hmm.
Yeah.
On the left have been replaced by a parking ramp.
Has it? Okay.
Um,
That's
I don't know.
recent though. Because I think that building that you said the parking ramp, I don't think that wasn't all that long ago.
no, that's a big parking ramp for the community college.
Right, but it's relatively recent is what I'm saying.
Yeah, it was in the last 15 years or something. Yeah. This is North 7th Street at 3rd Avenue North. And the streetcar has just crossed the viaduct over the railroad tracks. As a matter of fact, if you went out here today, let me think. No, not. This would be where Target Field is here. This would be the 7th Street side of Target Field. Now, this track in the foreground is a Y, and this is the Y where the Anoka cars would back in and terminate. And right behind us would have been the joint station with the loose line and the Dan Patch. Here's the Greyhound Bus Depot in all of its streamlined modern splendor. And this is right in front of it. You can see you got kind of tracks going out 7th. Well, oh no, I'm sorry. These are tracks going to Glenwood Avenue. Here's a winter carnival activity at the state capitol. Some kind of a float. Here's the bottleneck with this poor guy out here trying to direct traffic. Not sure what the occasion is, but this is Duluth Avenue Station with a whole bunch of kids waving at the streetcars coming out of the, pulling out. Bryn Mawr. The Bryn Mawr, okay, what we've got here is a series of pictures of the light lines that went early. And so this is Bryn Mawr in downtown, I think probably at 11th or 12th and Hennepin. I like this very stylish lady. And they ran this line with lightweights. And here we are out at the end of the line. So this line quit in, I want to say 38 or 39. And it was really pretty much open country out at the end here. And then the other line that had lightweights was the Western Avenue Shuttle, which was about a mile long. And once they stopped running to downtown, they equipped car number 3 as a double ender, and it would just shuttle back and forth on this thing. And this is at the end of the Kenwood line, on the last day in 1938. It was through routed to the Ford plant with East 25th Street. So this is a 21st and Penn in Kenwood. And then in 1940, the Olson High, the 6th Avenue North line went. They tore up 6th Avenue North to build Olson Highway. And this was when it was through routed via University Avenue to St. Paul. It was like a little short, about a 2-mile extension of the University Avenue line. So this is the corner of 6th Avenue North and Bryant. This is just kind of interesting because it shows the lower end of the Selby Tunnel from about a block away. not a view that you see very often.
That's still owned by the Weinhagens. I just got an email from Christian Weinhagen, the current owner.
Really?
Yeah,
They must be located somewhere else because they're. This is where that's where the freeway is now.
yeah, they're right down on right where the cliff collapsed a couple years ago.
Oh,
By the Caves,
huh.
the Caves restaurant there, or whatever it's called now.
Okay. So
Were
anyway,
there, were there other of those Chevrolet billboards with clocks that you can think of around? That looks very familiar to me, but I don't think I would have seen that one when I was a kid.
Downtown Minneapolis, what, First Avenue North, Second Avenue North?
I think it was on Hennepin. I might have a photo of it. And so I've got a series of pictures here. We're getting close to the end. There was a wildcat strike in 1938, and it was when Twin City Lines eliminated the conductors on, it was either the Minnehaha Avenue line or the East 25th Street line, and it started at Lake Street Station, which is where we are. And it was a wildcat strike to protest the elimination of the conductors' jobs, and it did result in the reinstatement of some of the conductors. And so we got a whole series here, and I think it really kind of captures the feel of the time. This was towards the end of wearing the pillbox hats. About 2 years after that, they went to the bus driver type hats. And here, I'm sure that these are union officials here. And these are all newspaper photos, and they're just some wonderful photos inside the operator's room. I ran some of these a long time ago in Twin City Lines or in the Mini Gazette, I forget which. And of course, the card game, always a card game going. I just think these are wonderful photos. You got these old worn out benches here that have been there forever. Everything is worn. And the purpose of these display cases was every time there was a schedule change, the runs for each individual streetcar were posted in here, and the motormen or conductors had to hand copy them onto recipe cards so they would know where to be and when. Before that, for many years they would make copies of them for them, but no, they had to do it by hand. And so what would happen, and this continued way up into Metro Transit, up until, I want to say, the late 70s. And so what would happen is when you had a new service change, the first day of the service change, there would always be somebody who hadn't copied up the new work, or said, oh, my run number is the same, the times, I'm just going to assume the times are the same. And so you'd have cars in all the wrong places, some running the old schedule and some running the new schedule.
Yeah, lots of room for error with that method.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, Aaron, can you go back 2 photos there? I think the guy that's watching the card game on the right, and he's looking at the table.
Talk about this guy?
The guy that's looking at the table there with the glasses on.
Oh, okay.
And
this guy.
No, down.
This one.
The guy. Yes, that guy.
Okay.
And that, to me, that looks like Jim Vaikunas.
It does look a little like Vaikunas, doesn't it? Huh. Well, we know it isn't him.
Oh, do we?
Yeah. So this is this series of photos were taken apparently just as the strike was ending, and I think these are union officials telling everybody, hey, we got what we wanted. You guys can get back to work. Now this is at Duluth Station, and so a photographer went over there as well. Once again, it just really captures kind of the look of it.
All that's missing there is the pitchforks.
Well, apparently they're going back to work now. And we have a couple of the shop guys. You don't see the shop guys that often, but these guys look like they're ready to fight. But And here's some more of the shop guys. And this clearly is afterwards. They're shaking hands out in the yard. This is at Lake Street Station. I'm almost done here. I like this. Summarize your winter riding. No need to worry about wintry blasts nor about the extra costs of winter driving. Summarize your winter transportation by joining the happy riders of the heat-conditioned streetcars and buses. You too will laugh at Old Man Winter and smile with satisfaction over the money you're saving, the worry and discomfort you're avoiding.
Look at how they spelled "you're saving" there.
Yeah. Oh,
No
yeah.
proof, no proofreaders.
No. And then the last picture,
Oh, isn't that
buying a
sweet?
Buddy Poppy.
Yeah.
And I forget, what are Buddy Poppies for? They still sell them, I think.
They do occasionally.
It was an Armistice Day thing,
Yes.
wasn't it?
Yeah, World War One.
Flanders Field, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, that's the show.